This is Lyqa Maravilla, a registered psychometrician, a trying hard educator, motivational speaker, and author. And it's time for us to share stories, insights, and lessons as we keep trying hard to be better together. Life is a series of hard choices. And how do you know if you're making the right choice? That's what we're going to talk about in this new Trying Hard episode. Hi and welcome to another episode of the Trying Hard podcast. The goal here is for us to share sa struggle ng pagpili at paggawa ng mabuting mga bagay while we're here. And again, the process will require us to try hard, and it's not going to be easy like we hope. And ano yun, sa mga early days or early years ng life natin, akala natin madali. But the more that we age or habang lumalaki tayo, habang tumatanda tayo, we understand that yun, choices are difficult, choices are hard, and we have to live with those choices. In one of my Instagram posts sa @Lyqa Maravilla, I said that we make our choices, but our choices make us. And that's true. That's real. And that's why I think it's time for us to talk about this. How do we make the right choice? How do I try hard to make the right choice? So I'm going to walk you through the process. This is going to be a 2-part episode. Kasi dun muna tayo dun sa prep and then sa elimination. And then next episode, pag-uusapan natin on how we live with the choices that we made. Okay? So, first things first muna, pag-usapan natin yung isang napakahalagang bagay pagdating sa choices, which is hindsight is always 2020. Now, ang ibig sabihin, yung idiom na yan, is that we, most of the time, don't see things clearly until after na nangyari na lahat or after things played out. And it's true, no? Out of the difficult choices we made, nalalaman natin if it's right, if it works out, if it's going to be successful or not, kapag lumipas na yung panahon, kapag nakita na natin yung consequences or yung epekto ng choices na yon. And one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is making the choice right now, knowing that, again, may mga long-term implications yan. Ang daming kids these days who approach me asking for help on anong course or degree ang pipiliin nila for college, anong strand for senior high school. Marami mga people who are thinking of a shift in yung career nila or if it's time for them to resign. And these are huge decisions na, again, we may never know fully kung ano yung magiging resulta niya until things play out. But there is a way for us to kahit pa paano eliminate some of the risk na nandoon and tanggalin yung mga choices na sa ibang tao blatantly obvious kung ano hindi dapat piliin pero baka hindi pa natin nakikita. You know, we live our lives kadalasan casting ourselves as the main character sa story natin. And because of that, meron tayong blind spots pag nabubuhay tayo. Meron tayong mga blind spots dun sa mga people that are close to us, blind spots pagdating sa mga things that we care about or that we are passionate about. And it's because those blind spots exist that we have to really have a system, no, pagdating sa decision making. And hindi ako immune dyan. I know I sold this episode sa title pa lang that this is how you make the right choice. But that doesn't mean that all the choices I've made in my life ay right choices. In fact, a lot of these things that I'm going to share to you are based on my experiences in having made really bad, sometimes terrible choices in my life. And ang importante, again, at the end of the day, is if we're given the opportunity to live through the experiences that we learn from them. So, yun yung isi-share ko sa inyo. Okay? So, I don't want you to go around saying na, wow, grabe naman to si Lyqa. Ina-assume niya na siya yung ultimate or magaling siya gumawa ng choices or she's better than us. Hindi. Sa totoo lang, if you consider everything, I may be far worse than most of you. But I'm just here trying to walk you through this, knowing na, again, I've had a lot of painful experiences from this. So, pag-usapan na natin yung tips ko. Okay, now the first step when it comes to making the right choice is knowing who you are. Now, I know a lot of people would say, knowing who you are? Eh, di ba choices na pinag-uusapan natin? Ano namang kinalaman ng pagkatao ko dun sa choice na nakaharap sa akin ngayon? Ano kinalaman ng pagkatao ko ng digging deep sa identity ko doon sa career choice or sa kung magre-resign ako or hindi? But really, a huge part of our decision-making has to be based on yung self-awareness natin. And kung sino ba tayo? Ano yung priorities natin sa life? Ano yung values natin and everything else? Babalikan natin yan mamaya. And that is why I have to stress that you have to know yourself. And you have to know who you want to be. And if hindi pa kayo familiar dyan sa mga sa mga words na yan or hindi mo pa masyadong kilala yung sarili ninyo, ipa-plug ko na rin really quickly. We did have a 3-part series on getting to know yourself and being a better version of yourself. Nagsimula siya sa episode, I think it was episode 24. Tapos episode 26. And then yung last part is episode 28. So kung gusto niyo at hindi niyo pa napapakinggan, balikan niyo na lang yan. Okay? But today, again, having established kung sino ka at sino ang gusto mong maging, pwede na tayo ma-move on dun sa step number 2. Now, ang step number 2 in making the right choice is to make sure that you look at all the options. Okay? Tingnan mo lahat ng options. Now, some of you may say, ate or coach, wala akong choice. Itong nasa harap ko ngayon, wala akong choice. For example, a lot of kids are telling me na wala po kaming choice pagdating sa say, online learning or sa modular learning. Wala akong choice kasi dito lang ako sa college na to pumasa. Hindi dun sa dream college ko or hindi dun sa course na gusto ko. Wala akong choice. But sa totoo lang, again, doon na papasok yung conversation ng blind spot eh. Kasi hindi totoo na wala tayong choice. Mayroon tayo laging choice. The only reason why we don't see yung choices na yon is because hindi natin naisip or masyado siyang mahirap. To the point na ayaw na natin. Kasi ang gusto natin sa totoo lang are not choices but we want an easy choice. And because we don't want to wait that long for something else, we assume na wala tayong choice. Let me give you an example. If, say, a kid, okay, like I was before when I was in UP, ang sabi ko nun, wala akong choice. Okay, wala akong choice, public administration yung course na pinili ng parents ko sa akin. I got into UP Diliman. Yun yung course ko. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody from there. So it was a really hard adjustment for me. And for a long time, I would tell that story saying na wala akong choice. Wala akong choice kasi yun ang gusto ng parents ko for me. But if you rethink that, I actually did have a number of choices. It's just that it was difficult for me at the time. Because we didn't have a real relationship with our parents nung edad namin yun, 15, 16, 17 years old, up until actually a couple of years ago. So I didn't have the guts to tell my parents that I really wanted to take up psychology. Dun sa form ko, dun sa entrance sa UP, when we were taking the UPCAT, sa totoo lang na shade ko na yung psychology as my option sa course. But my dad erased it and had us check yung BA, PA, or public administration instead. And I told myself at that moment, wala akong choice kasi yun ang gusto ng papa ko. But sa totoo lang, technically may choice ako. I could have stepped up. I could have explained why I wanted to take up psychology. I could have said that if I work really hard, I will make them proud if they let me take up psychology. I could have researched the careers in psych kasi yun naman yung, I guess, fear nila at that time eh. Para anong magiging trabaho mo kapag nag-psych major ka, baka wala kang papupuntahan. Dapat pala nag-effort ako. Diba? Gumawa ko ng proposal, kinausap ko sila. That could have been a choice. Oh, wait lang ha. Bago tayo magpatuloy sa ating episode, I'm sure you're wondering how we collaborate with brands here sa Trying Hard podcast. And for that, we use Podmetrics. So if you have your own podcast, sign up na right now at podmetrics.co. That is podmetrics.co. And don't forget to use the code Trying Hard. Again, that's Trying Hard. Capital ang T at H. Okay? And if you use that code, yung Trying Hard, you can also help support this show and help us keep making more episodes for you. Kaya salamat sa inyong lahat. And if you are an advertiser who wants to collab with Trying Hard, head on over to advertiser.podmetrics.co and fill out the form. Again, that's Podmetrics, the easiest way to monetize your podcast. Another thing would be, I could have studied really well 'di ba? Dapat nag-effort ako. Sana dapat ito yung ginawa ko, nag-aral ako maigi. Tapos, maybe in a couple of sems, pwede akong mag-try na mag-shift. 'Di ba? Kasi possibility naman din talaga 'yon. Again, it's not going to be easy kasi it's way harder to shift, no? From one course to another. Syempre limited ang slots. It's going to be a ton of paperwork and a lot of people to talk to, which is really a nightmare for me kasi nga I live with social anxiety. But that could also be a choice for me. It just wasn't an easy choice. Now, the other choice would be for me to finish my degree, and then after I graduate, I can put myself through school studying psychology like I've always wanted to. But I didn't make that choice. So there's this illusion na wala akong choice nung moment na yon, when in fact, I actually have a number of choices. So it's the same, I think, for most of us. Whether it's a small choice or a big choice, we tell ourselves, wala akong choice. But the truth is, marami tayong choices. Some of the choices are impractical. Some of the choices are difficult. Some of the choices are extreme. But lagi kang may choice. And in other cases, we have to talk about it kasi it will make us feel good about ourselves. For example, if meron kang binabayarang utang, kunwari lang, no? And again, no particular person na pinatitingnan dito. Pero may binabayaran kang utang, tapos meron kang gustong bilhin na shoes, for example. Tapos sasabihin mo, wala akong choice kasi hindi ako pwedeng bumili ng shoes kasi nagbabayad pa ako ng utang. So wala akong choice. And sometimes you feel bad about that. Wala akong choice kasi wala akong pera. But if you think about it, you actually had a choice. May choice ka, which is bilhin mo yung sapatos, tapos mabaon ka pa ng mas malalim sa utang. And because you made that choice, thinking na wala kang choice, di ba? Minsan masama yung loob natin, nararob tayo nung satisfaction, knowing that yung no choice na yan was actually the right and hard choice. So yes, may choice ka. Akala mo lang wala kang choice, pero you're choosing to do what's right. So again, think about that. Look at all your options because there are always multiple options. You know, I'm not a huge fan of citing verses in every episode, but in this particular episode, let me just introduce a passage in the Bible. I'm not going to quote the verse directly, and some of you who are avid Bible readers or Christians would know what I'm talking about. But in the Bible, it says that there's no temptation here on earth that you're going to come across na hindi pa nangyari sa ibang tao at na hindi mo kakayanin. Okay? So, ganun din when it comes to our choices. Kung ano yung naharap sa atin, there is always a choice. And there's always a right choice in that situation. Now, after you've seen all of your options, the next thing that you're going to do is to do your research. This is very important. Okay? Now, when it comes to research, syempre, marami yung mga factors na yan. Titingnan mo yung steps na you have to take. Titingnan mo yung mga people who are going to be involved. And dito ko na rin isisingit yung possibility of playing out yung inyong choice. Now, what do I mean by that? Sa utak natin, we can kind of see or foresee yung mga posibilidad if ito yung pipiliin ko. For example, again, sa course, di ba? Okay, if I choose na mag-apply ako na ang degree ko is in accountancy, okay, mag-accountancy ako, or business administration, dalawa yung options ko. Ipi-play out ko yung scenario na yun. Kapag nag-accountancy major ako, it'll take me 5 years to study. It's going to be, and if you've done your research, you would know it's going to be a barrage ng maraming mga qualifying exams, maraming mga struggles, may mga law subjects and everything else. So, iso-survive mo yun. At the end of the 5 years, you have maybe a year to prepare for your board exam and then, of course, take the board exam. So, 6 years na. And then after that, of course, it's going to be lifelong learning. Kasi alam ng lahat ng accountants na kilala natin or lahat ng accountants na nakikinig dito na importante ang CPD training. And things change. Laws change. Yung rate ng taxes change over time. So, it's going to be constant na pag-aaral. Okay? So, that is the life of an accountant. You can do your research by looking at yung mga vlogs ng mga accountants, asking people na dun sa career na yon. Talagang mag-effort ka to find out the possibilities. And on the other side, you have business administration as an option. You can maybe apply for an internship sa isang kumpanya, shadow yung mga people na nasa business. Maraming mga TikTok din na users or accounts na nagbe-business. So, tingnan mo yung buhay nila. Ano yung ginagawa nila? Willing ka ba to subject yourself through that? Kasi when it comes to business ad naman, syempre mag-aaral ka multiple na subjects, marketing, may accountancy din. So kung allergic ka sa math, hindi ka rin makakatakas. You're going to have to pitch your ideas. May feasibility study ka, may sample ka na business, di ba, before you graduate. So if you look at your options, alin dito yung willing ako i-play out until the end. And of course, at the end of it all, ang accountancy major, pag natapos niya yung 6 years na yon, lalabas siya na meron siyang lisensya that person can live off of. Kung ikaw ay business ad major, na wala kang masyadong working capital dahil hindi tayo masyadong nakaaangat sa buhay, syempre, mag-iipon ka pa ng capital mo, magiging empleyado ka muna. So, medyo konti na yung, sabihin na natin na ito, hindi ito absolute ha, pero, and again, these are just scenarios, hindi as strong when it comes to hiring yung fresh grad na business ad versus a licensed accountant. So, yung risk is now going to be different. So, play out these scenarios, do your research, see what makes more sense to you. Okay? Now, bakit kailangan mag-research? Kasi kung wala kang information na ganyan, it's going to be harder for you dun sa next step natin at next half din ng podcast na ito. Kasi next, dito sa part 2 na to, pag-uusapan na natin yung process ng elimination. And it's going to be a series of questions that you're going to have to ask yourself. Alright, so let's go through yung mga possible na pwede natin gawin when it comes to eliminating our options. Okay, so nakalatag na sa iyo lahat ng options mo, meron ka ng research on each of these options. How do I weed things out? Ano yung pwede kong tanggalin? Ano yung pwede kong i-focus on? Ano yung mga pwede kong piliin at the end? Yung pag-usapan natin. Now, there are 4 quick stages or questions that you can ask yourself. Now, the first stage is about morality. When we talk about the right choice, it's really what's right. Tama para sa'yo, tama para sa lahat. So which of these choices is either immoral, illegal, or hurtful to someone? Okay? Now, if there's one choice, multiple choices, or kahit alin pa yan, that is immoral, illegal, or hurtful to people, to a certain extent ha, kasi again, we understand that making difficult choices, it's going to always hurt people. But at least, hurtful siya dapat dun sa mga innocenteng people. Okay, ano ibig sabihin ko dyan? When it comes to say writing your classmate's name sa isang group project pero wala silang ambag. So of course, it's going to be hurtful sa kanila pero hindi naman sila innocent in that situation unless talagang may mga extreme circumstances. So sa case na yon, I don't think that's a hurtful choice. That's actually considered as something that could be a right choice for that instance. Okay? So again, which of these is immoral, illegal, or hurtful? Now, kapag dun sa first stage pa lang, may mga na-eliminate ka ng choices, you can say goodbye to them. Kasi alam mo, agad-agad, those are not the right choice. The right choice has to be right from the get-go. Okay? So, if there's any sliver ng corruption, na pagiging mali, dun sa decision na yon, kung meron kang tatapakan, meron kang didiskartehan, di ba? May air quotes yung diskarte na yon, na actually, parang sumingit ka sa pila or you're doing something na under the table, you can eliminate those choices right away. And I know some people would say, hindi, okay lang yun kasi part yan. At saka it's the game. Everyone's doing it and you should do it pa rin. Pero sa akin lang, ang masasabi ko is that living my life as I try to do every day na I'm not, doing anything illegal, immoral, or hurtful to people. At least not intentionally. I love this life. Kasi wala kang kompromiso, wala kang utang na loob, wala kang ginagawang mali. So, masarap matulog. So, again, number 1, first stage is morality. Which of these is immoral, illegal, or hurtful? Remove all of those agad-agad. Second stage, sa lahat ng natira. Okay? Dun sa mga hindi immoral, hindi illegal, at hindi hurtful. Which of these can I live with? The second stage is about values. Which of these can I live with? Now, again, iba-iba tayo ng value system. I used to volunteer for Voice, no. We taught values education sa high school classes sa Flora Ilagan High School. I was still studying at that time. And every chance I get, I would go and teach. And first session pa lang, the kids are taught kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng values. And it's not going to be exact anymore because it's been a long time since then. Roughly a decade. A decade na before. But values are the standards by which we measure what's good and right, diba? What's wrong. Yun yung definition ng values eh. Yun yung kung ano yung pinaniniwalaan natin, kung ano yung pinahahalagahan natin, ano yung ina-assign na natin ng value to the point that binabangga natin ang decisions natin sa Kanya. And that's how we find out what's good and right and wrong and bad. Okay? So, yun yung kung ano yung values. And it's going to be different for people. Yeah, yan ang realidad. A lot of people put more value on, say, a success. Diba? Maybe getting promoted, the title, earning more money. And a lot of people naman value people over success. So, iba-iba yung tao. And the fact that they are different doesn't mean that one is better than the other. Isa-stress ko lang yan really quickly kasi I know how some people judge people by kung ano yung priorities nila in that season of life or kung ano yung mga inuuna nila. But a lot of that, I think, is rooted din sa background ng tao. For example, people who really need a leg up, no? Kailangan talaga kasi first generation out of poverty, possibly, or may sinusuportahang magulang, or may binabayarang maraming bills. Di ba, hindi natin sila masisisi if priority nila for now ang career na mas stable sa income. Kahit hindi pa necessarily yun ang passion nila or hindi yun ang nagbibigay sa kanila ng malaking satisfaction. Yun ang priority nila kasi again, yun sila right now. So values can be different for everyone. Now, how do you know your values? Again, you have to dig deep. Ano ba talaga yung realidad tungkol sa'yo? And it may be similar sa people who raised you, similar sa kung paano ka pinalaki ng magulang mo, but it may not be exactly the same. Okay? Kasi pwedeng, kahit kami, may kakambal ako, pero pwedeng yung values namin medyo magkaiba. Diba? So, think of it that way. And the question there again is which one or which ones can I live with? Kasi at the end of the day, you're going to have to live through yung consequences ng actions mo, consequences ng decisions mo. And even if people tell you what to do, or dapat ito gawin mo, or na-advisean ka nila, ang realidad is, there's a certain limit to what we should do for them. Because it's going to be your life on the line. It's going to be you and your families, you and the people you're going to have with you for the long term na maapektuhan. So again, which ones can I live with? Yung mga hindi mo kakayanin, for example, if I'm going to pick between a 10-year bond, okay, so my scholarship abroad for a master's degree, my allowance and everything, but I'm going to have to live in a foreign country for 10 years straight. Ano yun, minimum, kasi syempre magsaserve ka pa. Versus staying here and just getting a local degree, local master's degree, and doing what I do here in the Philippines, di ba? Which choice can I live with? Now, of course, you know me, so ang sagot ko would be, I would stay here. Kasi sa akin, it's going to be harder for me to make that adjustment, and it's harder for me to say na, okay, bibitawan ko muna yung ginagawa ko sa Team Lyqa, hindi na muna ako magtuturo, hindi muna ako gagawa ng educational videos because I need to prioritize myself. I can't do that right now. So, yun yung value ko. Sa sarili ko, I want to give back to my countrymen. So, I have to choose to stay. Again, yung choice na yun, different for other people. Kasi, pwedeng hindi naman yun yung value system nila. Okay? So, again, yun. Which one or which ones can I live with? Third level is about risk. Which of these will give me the best, worst result? Okay, it's a mouthful, so let's break it down. Best, worst result. Ano ibig sabihin nun? I have this thing, okay, and not everyone does this naman, no? I'm not sure if any of you does this, pero meron akong idea kasi medyo may pagka-pessimist ako din. Hindi naman pessimist. Realist kasi ako, so I like looking at things from both sides. And I want to be prepared. So what I do is, again, we play out the scenarios, diba? We did it kanina. Pero I look at risk like this. Alin yung may best, worst na scenario na mangyayari? Ibig sabihin, ano yung pinakamalalang pwedeng mangyari sa choice A? Pinakamalalang pwedeng mangyari sa choice B? Pinakamalalang pwedeng mangyari sa choice C? And then I look at all of those na malalalang sitwasyon and I pick which one is the best. That's how I measure risk. Okay? Ibig sabihin kung ano yung pinaka-okay na sa lahat ng hindi okay na pwedeng mangyari. Okay? So, which has the best, worst result? Now, some of you may define risk differently. Diba? If you're looking at risk as in possibilities for success or possibilities na it will fail. Pero sa akin kasi, kapag naging natin ng monetary value yon, kumbaga kahit ang Team Lyqa, it's a really high risk decision for me to say quit my job, quit law school and venture into this full time. It's a high risk decision. Pero sa akin, ano ba yung best worst result? Should I stay in a corporate gig that's sabihin natin killing me softly kasi talaga my body so I'm having a hard time adjusting? Or do I up and quit right now? Give my all in dito sa Team Lyqa while it was starting, do odd jobs just to stay afloat. And ang worst case scenario nun would be I would be wasting my time. Diba? Magsasayang ako ng oras, I would lose the opportunity na nasa law school na ako. Everyone wanted to be in my shoes at that time. Diba? Parang sayang yung opportunity na yan. Pero sa akin, ang mas worst na possible na result would be for me to be a lawyer only to decide na ito pala talaga yung gusto ko. So, sa akin, better result pa rin yung I tried and failed pagdating sa paggawa ng educational content. Or, kasi ang thinking ko nun, at least even if I go bankrupt and I have to go back to the corporate life or go back to law school, meron na kahit paano siguro 100 videos. Magandang simula na siya. And I get to already inspire people to start the entire process of creating educational content. So, yun yung thinking ko at that time. So again, sa risk, yun yung definition ko, which has the best worst result. And then last point is this. You have to look at the time frame. Short-term or long-term success. Okay, which of these works out better? What is your end goal? And again, this is something that's going to be personal sa'yo. Kasi pwedeng yung end goal sa akin, temporary gig to, okay na yan, for a few weeks, for a few months, for a few years. Pero for someone na sabihin natin 40 years old, yung career shift, di ba? Medyo iba na yung idea nun kasi long-term na yung pinag-uusapan. It's going to be extra challenging to shift your career if you're already 40 years old, 50 years old. So again, very personal yun sa inyo. Ano yung end goal mo? Is this going to be a short-term decision or a long-term one? And the best decisions, in my opinion, sa aking experience, are the ones that make sense for both the short-term and the long-term. And it's very rare that you see an option that ticks yung boxes for both. And if they do, it's usually the best choice already. Okay? So again, yun muna. Doon muna tayo sa first 4 steps. We're going to talk about yung execution, follow-through, everything, what you have to think about in the next part ng discussion na ito. Quick recap lang tayo. Again, hindsight is 2020. So understand that even if you talk about these things, the entire process, things could still go awry. May mga options pa rin na biglang hindi mag-turn out kung ano yung expected mo. We'll talk about that the next episode na lang. First step, you have to know yourself. So please try to get to know yourself. Second step, look at all the options. Take stock of them. Okay? Kahit yung mga feeling natin no choices, meron ka talagang choice. And then, yung third step would be to do your research. Okay? Do your research and do it well. And then yung fourth step is go through the process of elimination. Look at its morality, look at your values, look at the risk, and look at the time frame. Short-term or long-term. Alright? And hopefully, by the end of this entire process, medyo may mga na-eliminate na tayo, meron na tayong mga na-prioritize, meron na tayong mga iniisip-isip or pinaglalaro sa isip natin. Okay? And yan muna for now. And I want you to be encouraged then by this conversation. And if you have any takeaways or meron din kayong may advice when it comes to your own decision-making process, I would love to hear back from you. You can join the Trying Hard community on Facebook. Type nyo lang Trying Hard Podcast Community. And of course, well, we welcome you dun sa conversation na yun. Share ninyo yung thoughts ninyo. You can also use the hashtag Trying Hard with Lyqa, Trying Hard with LYQA on your social media posts para mahanap namin kayo. And of course, follow this podcast if you haven't yet. Part 2 is going to come up really soon. At marami na rin tayong ibang episodes if you want to go through all of them. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere you get your podcast. At bago tayo maghiwalay, a quick shout out muna. Hi and thanks sa guys from Kumu. If you're not familiar with Kumu yet, Kumu is a Pinoy live streaming app where you can connect and tambay with Filipino streamers and celebrities. Ako rin po ay may Kumu show every Tuesdays, 10:30 a.m. to 12 noon. So kung gusto niyo makipag-usap sa akin, nandun po tayo. And you have the Kumu download link. You can download Kumu using the link dito sa description ng podcast episode na to kung wala ka pang Kumu at magkita-kita tayo doon. Alright? So hi sa lahat ng mga nasa Kumu, sa guys from Kumu. Thank you for supporting this show. And as we always say, dito sa podcast na to, dream big, work hard, start now, and try not to care when people call you trying hard. Usap tayo soon. Bye for now.